Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Trade Network and International Bulk Wine and Spirit Show. I'm here with Rack Riddle. I'm here with the CEO, Jeff, and Mark, who's the general manager here. We're going to talk about, leadership in tough times, and I really welcome both of them at my show and to the beverage trade community. So, Jeff, thanks for having me here.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Appreciate it.
Talk about this topic.
I think we all want to hear, from leaders like you on how you are navigating this particular phase that we are in, and Mark, for you as well, operationally, how you guys are focusing. So I would love to dive into this episode. My first question would be, what's the mindset? And both of you can answer this question. What is it taking of you right now these days, like as a leader? And personally, how are you fighting this solo fight on one side? And on the other side, there is a face that you have to show to the company.
Well, there's definitely a big change happening, right? And it's been happening now for a few years. So we're to the point where, people are looking for progress and for things to sort of turn around. They're slower than we all would want. So in this kind of environment, we're spending a lot of time maintaining focus. Mm-hmm. And sort of keeping an eye on the vision that's longer term while we get through what we'll say is a short-term set of challenges. But as long as we have our teams all focused and sort of believing in the future, we've found so far that people are maintaining kind of sanity and excitement to do that.
Mm-hmm. And Mark?
Yeah, to echo what Jeff is saying, our team is important. And communicating to the team and keeping the openness with the team as to what we're doing and innovating during this time and looking at opportunities out in the market and then bringing them back here and working on that to deliver products that are in need in the market.
Mm-hmm. So I think Rack Riddle is a great example of how you are always aligning to the trends and a little bit at least you have the tailwind. So that's a good news, like I believe sparkling category and now the big investment in no and low. So that's a great move. But let's say a winery who's not been able to do that pivot, who's literally a Napa cab, an example where it's just turbulent times. What would you tell them honestly looking at it? Like, do you think this is going to come back or this is the new reality?
Like us, I think any of the industry participants are going to need to rely on innovation. I think we've heard a lot of that discussion at the various industry gatherings that innovation is key. So I think whether you're in sparkling or in still wine, red wine, white wine, whatever, there's things like alcohol removed, different packaging that are innovations that meet consumers in a new way. And I think we're hearing from a lot of our winery partners, mm-hmm. And we have a lot of them, that they're doing that. And we're playing a role for them that way. You're at the front lines with all those guys. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think what it is for the still wine wineries is obviously, like you mentioned, the innovation piece, but also is catering to the new generation, Gen Zs and millennials. Mm-hmm. They're up and coming. They are going to be the customers of the future. And how are they addressing that within their own winery?
So on innovation, I think one of the things is how much to invest, how long to see this. And one thing that even I personally, I'm challenging myself, or we think every day is, do we just change the domain? Like, do we go in the food? Do we go in the CPG? Do we go in the whole thing beyond wine, let's say? Has that question come to you?
Frankly, no. We're very satisfied with the focus we have on sparkling. We'll do some still wine things. We'll bottle for people, but the big growth driver for us is sparkling. And there's so much opportunity there for us, but really for all of our partners that we have plenty to do to achieve our goals, and consumers are agreeing with that, whether it's just plain doing more sparkling at some of these wineries or doing different sparkling things like the alcohol removed, our Cal Secco product that goes after a California version of Prosecco, those kinds of things. Sparkling will be where we can focus to achieve our goals.
And you're not worried, let's say, Mark, overall as an alcohol category, just on a continuous decline?
All businesses go through peaks and valleys, and the wine industry has certainly been in a valley the last couple of years. I think we're going to come out of this. I think it's going to be a different landscape than it has been in the past, but I think there's still plenty of opportunity. Mm-hmm. As Jeff mentioned, we're doing Cal Secco, we're doing flavored products, and not just sweet flavored products, mild flavored products. The wine industry needs to continue to innovate beyond its standard Cabernet, Chardonnay, or sparkling wine. And I think those that are doing that are seeing the wins. I don't think we're going to venture into anything outside necessarily wine. Obviously, alcohol removed we are, and low alcohol products. But what we do will continue to be a wine-based product.
Okay. Right now, if I had to, you have to meet the profits, right? So would love to know your thought on one side, there is the top line pressure, which is just hard because the consumer is just not there, I believe, let's say, for most of the wineries. And then there is the bottom line pressure, which involves lean job cutting or optimization, which may feel that you're going down to the other employees, that it's just the ray of light is not there because you're just optimizing for profit. How do you balance that act?
Well, hopefully this isn't too obvious, but the top line and the bottom line go hand in hand. And I guess I'll say top line, very critical for us. We want to make sure that we're maintaining and increasing growth. But to do that, we've got to have a cost structure that supports investment and, eventually delivers sort of long-term profitability that comes from that top line growth and diversification. So we'll do both. We'll focus on the top line, but we'll invest our cost savings to drive that, which means you have to get more efficient. You have to do things consolidating some of your activities, being more efficient in the plant, doing more with a little less. But that's opportunity for everybody if you do that right.
Maybe we'll just double click on that so we can go a little deeper. What have you stopped doing or cut down? And what are you focusing on a little bit more?
I think during these times, all organizations start to focus on your operations of your business and efficiencies. And that's what we're doing. We're looking at the operations. We're looking at efficiencies within the operations. And are we doing all the right things and cutting out the excess? So we're looking from top to bottom from an operational standpoint at those efficiencies and where we can get better at what we're doing. And products, what is our cost structure within products? And do we have the right structure?
Mm-hmm. And have you cut down some categories or products because you just think that that's not the future?
SKU rationalization, I think all businesses need to take a look at, on an annual basis. And we certainly have done that to become more efficient, not producing products that we don't do the volume that cost more and have a greater cost structure. We have done that. But from a personnel standpoint, we've maintained our staff. We have very good, efficient people. Mm-hmm. So we're not looking at any cost savings from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back on that main wisdom sort of topic where we would love, young people like me, would love to know how you think about leadership and push yourself. When things are just not working out, literally it's just demotivating, every month, every quarter. At one point you will have to, you'll self-doubt yourself as a leader, whether you are justifying your team, they've stopped believing in you, some things like that happen. How do you get that self-belief, and what do you do? Like, you just mute and then you focus on execution. What's your strategy to gain self-confidence when you're just not able to prove on the metric that you've been failing quarter, not because your fault, it's just the whole industry is going down?
Probably one of the main things is to be more present with your leadership, my own leadership, but also with the leadership that's around me. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of sort of renewed energy and confidence, frankly, from hearing from our teams what they think we should be doing and involving them in the process of problem solving, of understanding the threats and coming up with ways to address those. Mm-hmm. So, the leadership, whether you're leading a function or everything, you're relying on everybody. And to the extent that you can double down on that and really get involved with everybody, be present every day, get the feedback, get the communication flow even more consistent, it's going to help my confidence, it's going to help my knowledge that we're doing what we got to do. And then I can sort of feed that back to everybody to say, here's what I've learned, here's what we need to be doing. And then at the end of all that, staying focused.
If you don't mind sharing, are you growing right now, or it's been a flat year?
We've been growing. We started a custom brands division a couple of years ago. We're seeing success on the custom brand side. The winery side of the business is tough, like it is for everybody. Small tasting rooms are struggling, not seeing the visitation that they've seen in the past, costs rising for visitors and visiting these various areas, whether it's lunches, dinners, staying over. But we're continuing to grow as a company. And I think all companies need to take a look at, within the wine platform, what areas, what's the white space? And are we executing in that area? And the nice thing about Rack and Riddle is we're diversified. We do contract bottling.
So white space meaning where is the opportunity?
Where's the opportunity for us and for these other wineries?
And how do you look at that? How do you analyze that?
On the commercial side, we evaluate our grocery partners and do an evaluation of what's on their shelf, what price points they have, what products they have, what innovation can we bring to the table, alc removed or low alc type products, flavored products. Cal Seco is an example. That's becoming a nice growth area for us and getting some attention. It's constantly looking at your business and seeing where can we grow, and where can we grow incrementally, or where do we have a large opportunity.
And to sort of double down on that, the business we're in is a partnership B2B business, right? And so in some ways we have the added advantage of having a large village of customers that can tell us what they're seeing. And, we owe it to them to hear feedback from them as to what they think is going to drive their business, and then be there to support that, while also balancing our own expertise and our knowledge of trends, et cetera, to kind of help collaborate with them to come up with good growth solutions.
On advising other wineries, like any particular 3 or 4 things that you think, based on your experience, that they should sort of start focusing on where there is a white space, or in their own capabilities.
Right. We're not a winery in the traditional sense as a tasting room is. So that's not our knowledge and expertise per se. We try to be the experts of the product in which we bring to the market. In the sparkling wine category, and the best of all things sparkling, we know the space, we know it well, we know the price points, we know the data, and we become the experts for our clients to talk about what white space they may have, with it, whether it be in their tasting room or on the commercial side themselves. So that's what we try and bring to the table for our customers, is that expertise and knowledge in the sparkling space, whether it's an inline carbonation product in a can, whether it's a Charmat process and utilizing Cal Seco and the meaning behind it and the reasoning behind it, or on the traditional method champenois side of the quality of the various products, and where a customer may see success the best. If we can come to them and we can teach them the why and help them figure out what product they should have in their lineup, they then trust us. And if we get the trust of those customers, hopefully they then have this success and they can execute on their side.
I would love to ask you, if you were hired for another winery, you both are now responsible for their pivot and growth, and it's a case where it's a Napa or Sonoma where it's literally headwinds, there's just continuous decline in the US, and forget about exports as well, same Canada, you've seen, how would you audit that? What would you do given that there is a capital investment required for a pivot, which also they cannot afford? How do you turn that ship?
I would probably resort to the tried and true SWOT kind of a approach, with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Get the team to think broadly and creatively about what do we do best, what don't we do so well, and focus on our strengths, and then understand where the key threats are you're going to have to make sure you don't have to deal with, and then go after those top opportunities. So that that's a pretty vanilla sounding answer, but you got to start with that, And then there's always a growth opportunity. I mean, I know that the big numbers look bad in the wine industry, but Sauvignon Blanc doing well, sparkling doing well, nuggets of growth in the red wine area. So if you're in that still wine area, let's go find what those are and start to focus on those. Those are the opportunities. And if you do have a strength in developing some premium things, just go after a premium version of those, etc. If you're more of a value player, double down on those things. Focus in, stop doing the things that are getting you nowhere. And I think that's how I'd sort of start the day on jump-starting growth.
I like that. I think
collaboration with your team. Your team's in it every day.
You mean people on the streets?
Certainly people on the streets, but people within your team throughout the organization, you got to collaborate together. Some of them may have ideas or thoughts or be in the tasting room and hearing what the consumers are asking for. Like you said, the SWOT, evaluating your entire organization and not just, it's got to be the team effort, not an individual effort in order to be successful. We may think one way, but our team thinks another way. So you've got to be on the same page and in concert, with your team and driving that additional growth during difficult times.
I mean, why would you want to have so much friction in a category that is becoming harder and harder? Won't it make sense just to completely stop Napa Cab and start a third-party bottling and start a sparkling SKU? It will take a lot out, that effort and time and money to earn that, let's say $100 for that same effort. You getting my point?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Don't keep doing what ain't going to work in the future. You're going to have to do the research and sort of get uncomfortably real with yourself about what may have been a core product for you, and if it's no longer going to be sustainable, then get out of it sooner than later. But you can't jump to that conclusion when you're in these uncertain times that still have to shake out, particularly if your business is sort of, let's say, all about Cabernet. If you're going to go away from Cabernet, that's an identity shift in the business in total, and you'll have to think long and hard about that. I'm saying there's probably nuggets of growth even within that, that deliverable that is small shift that is going to create the growth opportunity.
Mark, any closing?
Rebranding is always very difficult because you're turning your company on a dime and you're changing, who you were and to become something else. And it can be successful, but it could be catastrophic as well. So I think strategically looking at your SKUs, and we talk about SKU rationalization, and saying what's working and what's not working, and then you go to that white space. What can work? What's working for other wineries? I think it's always good to collaborate with your competition and other wineries to have success together, but to completely rebrand and change what you do. If you're a small winery, you have a customer base that's accustomed to you doing it one way. If you change that completely and say we're outsourcing everything now and we're not doing anything internally, what does that do to your story that you've been telling those customers who are your good customers for so long? I understand looking at cost reduction, and if in-house we're crushing instead of outsourcing the crush and then bringing it in. If we're doing bottling and that's costing us more than the value of bottling in-house, maybe we look at outsourcing. I think that's an operational. That's where you look at your operations, and a small winery is different than an operation like us. I mean, with a facility that can do 3.5 million cases and has as many bottling lines as we have, this is what we do. We're a custom wine service business versus small winery. So our challenges are slightly different than their challenges.
Last one, what do you put in your mind? Like, how do you learn? What companies or cues do you see? When you see the news of the big companies like Constellation or Pernod Ricard or Gallo, it's scary these days where the industry is going. When Gallo thinks it's going in the beverage industry like Coke now, it just gives a sign that something is happening, right? So do you see these cues, or do you get affected by what's happening at the Big Ten, let's say, in the world?
But remember that many of them are our customers, right?
Yeah.
And so we we are there for them and we learn from them, and that's in terms of things that we do now. If you're talking about, they're going away from things that we're doing.
Like you can see that, okay, everyone needs a good quarter, so everyone's jumping on RTD, everyone's less on wine. Constellation slashes their wine book and this and that, right? So normally they do the data and research, and if I was a small winery, I would just know that they've done the homework and just copy and follow the path.
Yeah, I know we do some of that, but we know our business, and we know the marketplace quite well. We do a lot of trend analysis, and we're all, obviously capable, experienced executives. So we're going to take the information that's all around us and consolidate and summarize it, and then take our plan that's currently in action and make sure that we've considered everything, given some of the new information you're talking about, right? It's all about having a plan that we all believe and have confidence in, but be willing to pivot with new information. But be patient, be considerate, don't be too short-term in your thinking when it comes to some of that pivoting. But certainly every plan is subject to some pivoting, particularly in an uncertain environment like we're in.
And I think all wineries at this time, but large wineries especially, is chasing the consumer and the latest trend. And that can be a short-term play or a long-term play. I think one thing that you're seeing with all the majors, sparkling wine is the category that they all need to be in. Gallo has had tremendous success with La Marca. Prosecco is a 13 million case import into the United States. There are very few folks that have a sparkling wine in their lineup. And we're seeing trends of those large wineries, coming to us or innovating themselves and coming out with a sparkling wine to grab part of that category. Sparkling wine's it's the third largest varietal being consumed today. And if you take a look at, like I mentioned, the 13 million cases of Prosecco coming in, that's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for domestic supply, California wineries, Calseco, to go after that business, to get a piece of that business and keep it here domestically. If you take a look at still wine and sparkling wines, still wines domestically are larger than imported wines. On the sparkling side, that's not the case. And so we need to turn that tide.
That's an opportunity, yeah.
And you're seeing, Gallo, as you mentioned, lean into Prosecco. They're 10% of the growth of that category, 10% of that sparkling category. So if you want to say, do we look at the trends of the large folks? Take a look at Gallo with sparkling wine, and other wineries need to follow suit as well, because it's white space for them. It's opportunity for them. Where are you going to grow with revenue? On the still wine side, it might be challenging. So that's that white space that we talk about. Whether it's an RTD, whether it's sparkling, whether it's a non-alc product, where can we have successes?
One area that probably deserves even a little more attention is, the wine industry is in this sort of seismic shift right now, right, because of consumer behavior around a lot of things. One of them is sort of the way they drink wine or don't.
What do you mean by seismic shift, like reducing the vineyards?
Well, that's an outcome from the seismic shift, but I would go back to the consumer behaviors that are happening, where there's a reduction in alcohol consumption and sort of a perception of alcohol consumption that's affecting consumer behavior. There's a dynamic of sort of the different demographics and how they will treat beverage consumption, and particularly alcoholic beverage consumption. A bottle of wine sitting on the table served with your friends is less happening, or is less prevalent than sort of sessionable consumption of beverages, whether it's beer, RTDs, and wine is starting to see that as well. So I'd say that if you look at those consumer behavior things, that is where this wine business is starting to shift. And I'll point to the two I just mentioned, which is alcohol consumption. So you've got the opportunity for all the wine purveyors, the sparkling purveyors, to address that change with alcohol removed or reduced alcohol products. And that's slowly but surely happening with better and better products and more innovation. And the other is sessionability, right, and having smaller format types of products that I'd say it's just now starting to happen as everybody's seeing that innovation is going to be what helps them get through this tough, uncertain time.
The wine industry hasn't been faced with a change like this in years and years and years, right? I mean, the boomers were the big wine drinkers. Well, the younger generation that's come up, there are more opportunities for them to select whether it's an alcoholic or a non-alcoholic beverage than there's ever been. And so it's flooded the market. And then generationally, they're kind of the me too. It's about me and about what I want, and I want it now, and I want something different, and now I'm off to the next thing. I mean, if you take a look at social media and where social media started with MindSpace, Amiga, whatever, and now where it is today, they keep jumping. It was Snapchat, and then it's this, and then it's that, and then it's so they're very fickle, and they constantly want to try something different, and that's one of the challenges for the wine space is how do we create a wine-based product for that generation that's going to enjoy it. Now, on the flip side, you got XXL, which is 17 to 18% alcohol. That's has had very good success.
I think wine people have to start thinking like spirits, like Smirnoff comes with watermelon because that's what they want right now.
Yeah.
And then take it off, it comes with a can,
I think trends are going to come in and out more quickly than the longevity of it. And we're getting away from the non-traditional Cabernet, Pinot Noir, Sauvignon Blanc, etc. And we're seeing a shift in reds to go into whites. Where Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Grigios are growing, and Chardonnay is not declining quite as much as Cabernet, but Chardonnay used to be the largest category, and then Cabernet right behind it. Well, now it's a very tight bandwidth. It's paying attention to those trends.
Yeah.